Welcome everyone to the Wednesday Night Live show episode, Tim. 95,
You know what?
96.
Episode 10.
I feel bad. I haven't been counting. I know we're getting close to 100.
Yeah, I need to know that big number. Maybe we'll have something special going on that day. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe Johnny will throw in some prize. I don't know if I get away with throwing prizes away on the show. I'll figure it out.
Don't call prizes.
Yeah. Things. Yeah. Some kind of things.
Some things fell out of the internet. Sorry.
Don't say giveaway. Don't say gifts. Bonus.
I got stuck in the bandwidth. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll figure something out. But we got a full show today. Got quite a few articles that we're going to dig into. We're going to talk a little bit about the. I like to call it the oops from JUUL, which is going to cost them about 400. Yeah, I saw the eyes rolling there. $439 million. When I read that, the first thing I thought that was each state. I go, they're fucked. They're dead. Yeah. They're done. But no, it's one lump sum for all those states. So. Tim's got some news and articles that he is going to talk about as well. And Allison has a few articles that she's going to dig into. No Paul today, but Paul will be back with us next week. And can we announce who our guest is going to be next week? Is that a for sure thumbs up, Allison?
Yeah, that's 100%.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Do it. I'll let you do it.
Well, the man, the myth, the legend, Charles Gardner is going to be on next week. He's going to be talking about vape statistics and basically how the numbers have changed over the years and how, public health uses those numbers to kind of create their narrative, and use it for their narrative, even if that's not accurate.
Yeah, so it's funny because, when we were talking about that the other day, when we were looking into that, I found it funny that something that as vaping is so scary for youth. You think they would redo that survey, but we could not find one that wasn't as old as 2018, right? So there's no
19 is the latest data. Yeah. Yep.
So you figured it would kind of, that's, it's the kids. You got to stay on top of that number, but no, that's the newest form is back from 2019. So
they're up to date on their data.
Yeah. So you think they would stay on top of that number and pay attention to it, but obviously we know why they're not paying attention to that number anymore, because it's dwindled down to pretty much very little, nothing.
Right.
The rock star that is Tim Swift is over there on the right hand side. He's going to do the hellos. We're going to go with the hellos with the people in the chat first. Go ahead, Tim. Unmute yourself first and then knock us out. You're muted. It's probably a beautiful friggin'.
I did.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Wednesday Night Live show. Let's go ahead and say hi to everybody from the top down. From the top down, take the top down. We got Mallory in the chat. Good to see you, Mallory. How you doing, Rog?
Mallory.
I think Rog wasn't with us last week. He kind of was a little late at the very bitter end, but I'm glad he's at the beginning, right? So he made it this time. Rog is here, and Nessie Vapes. Good to see you. How you been? And I know I saw. Well, who's that on Facebook? I don't know who is the Facebook commenter.
Facebook user.
I'm willing to bet that the Facebook user is Mr. Nicolando. I'm willing to bet.
Okay, very good. And Daryl, good to see you here. Glad to see you on the show. Thanks for joining in. Great to see everybody here. Always, every time. So it's a party. It's a party with us, some people that talk a lot. So
yeah, I got to re-up. I think that I'm going to have to go back into the Zamplebox family page and reconnect the account because I wasn't able to do it today. So I was hoping to stream the show from there today, but it wouldn't allow me. It said I needed an admin. Well, I am the admin of that page, so, but we'll get it. Nope, it wasn't Nick. It was somebody else. But
it might be Victor. It might be Victor. I'll go look at the Facebook page.
It is Cloud Queen. It is Cloud Queen. That's who that is.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah. And happy birthday again. I did say happy birthday on your birthday, but so happy birthday again.
Whose birthday was it?
Cloud Queen.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I did.
Come on, John.
I can't remember them all, dude. I got so much going on. You know how it is, Timmy. That was not Nick. It was Cloud Queen. And now you can do your hellos, Tim. How's your week going, buddy?
Better
wait. Is there any cheesecake left?
No, that shit's gone. That
Okay.
shit's gone, dude.
Right.
You know what? The guilt comes in about halfway through, and then you start to increase your intake to make it go away faster, so you can
gotta power through it.
Exactly. So I'm just like I can't stare at this thing anymore. It looks too sad. So I ate it really fast. My week's going really well now that it's a shorter week. We had the holiday on Monday, so got the benefit of 4 days instead of 5. So I'm trying to think if anything new or exciting has happened since then, and that's a big fat no. So
barbecue? No barbecue?
Dude, I haven't even cooked out all summer.
Wow.
I need parts. I need things. It's and every time I turned around when I was out of work for that time period, I'm like, God dang, the little hoods that go over the burner things, they're like, $35 a piece, and then I needed a new drip tray, and I need things.
Just go buy a whole new one.
Yeah.
Just go buy a whole new barbecue.
Yeah, well, now I'm on the printer kick because I got a bad print head in I just realized my.
I'll tell you right now. Just go buy another one before you get into printers.
Okay, yes,
cartridge shock.
I agree 1,000%. But the funniest part about the whole thing, well, at least to me, the most shocking part about it all was I was like, oh, I can usually get the ink for it, third party. I don't have to pay the stupid prices and all that stuff. And then in the end, I go to look on the Canon page just to see if I can figure out the part number of the print head because I'm looking for a third party version.
Yeah.
I bought that printer in 2007.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That thing is fucking 15 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, you were one of those that just kept buying new cartridges, not throwing it in a garbage can and go buy a whole new printer.
No, and then now the ones that are out today, it's just so hard to decide which one to get.
Now you get a scanner, printer, fax machine.
Well, that's what
combo.
mine is. Mine's an all-in-one. It's an all-in-one that I bought in 2007. So I'm trying to get a reasonable replacement.
Yeah, good luck. Don't buy the kits. Don't buy the refill kits. I'll tell you that.
They have the ones now called super tanks and mega tanks where you just. They give you bottles of liquid and you fill it up and you get way more print runs or print jobs out of it.
Well, I'm glad you had a good week. How about you, Allie? How is your week going?
Well, I had a good week. It's my best friend's birthday today, so happy birthday, Martha. I know she's down here.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh yeah, I'm drinking still. But so I took her to see Sam Hunt Friday night, and I took her out today and gave her all of her presents. So that was fun. Yeah.
Nice. I didn't barbecue this year, didn't have a pool party, nothing. It was just and then I was walking outside, my neighbors were doing it, and I've never seen this before, and probably everyone's gonna laugh, but I've never seen someone. I love hot dogs. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how they're made. I don't give a crap. I love hot dogs.
Lips and hooves.
I don't care. But he poaches the hot dogs first, and then he grills them. And then he fried some of them. I've never seen.
That's
and
the
he
Jersey
scores.
way.
Yeah,
Snapper
the Jersey
dog.
way. That's what he called it. And he stirred them and fried them. And I bit into this crunchy hot dog, and I was just like, today was the first day of my life. I was like, what the hell is this?
I worked on Labor Day. We actually worked a half day. So yeah, I didn't have the extra day off, but I did grill. I did put some ribs on the grill. So
see, there you go. Yeah. I didn't do anything. I was like, nope, everybody do your own thing this year. Leave me alone. I'm getting to be that grumpy old man that people need to leave alone for a couple of days.
Or if you come over, please leave by 9. That's me.
My kids always used to say, Dad, when he's done with being around people, he's going to buy a cabin up in the hills, and he's going to have he's going to be so far out of the way that nobody wants to visit him, and that's his whole plan. I go, it is. That's exactly my plan.
Exactly what I want.
Just drop off your kids at the mailbox. I'll come down.
I'm just gonna get an RV because no one can find me if they don't know where I live at the time.
I like the RV thing. Yeah, I did. I just had a buddy of mine who just retired. I won't name the company. It was a very big company, and he is retiring on a boat. Sold his house, sold everything he owns, and bought a pretty big. I don't know how big it is, but it's a large boat. Yeah. And it's docked in the Delta, and he's got phone line, cable line going in there, and that's what he wants. I was like, dude, is it ever going to leave the dock? That's all I want to know.
Probably not with gas prices the way
did you just buy something that's never going to, you might as well have owned a house, but no, yeah, he's bought a boat. You guys ready to dig into a little bit about JUUL? I was trying to find something a little new to find out that was out there. But the 438.5 million figure is based on a 6-year pay. Of course, they're getting 6 years to pay it off. I mean, it's like a car loan, right? It could go as high as 470 million if the company spreads the payments out to states over 10 years. JUUL changed. They were talking about how they they changed their marketing to youth, and then it breaks down into the article about how JUUL had already made a lot of changes prior to what the FDA was asking for, which I kind of knew and didn't realize how far ahead they were of the curve than everybody else was, and I think the obviously reasons that do you think they had an inside source that
if anything the FDA didn't like, they immediately, like their flavored pods, as soon as the FDA said flavors are attractive to kids, they pulled those pods from the market. So I mean,
well, right, they had some face to save at that point. I mean, they were the ire of everyone. So.
Right.
Do you think, now this is kind of the question that was in the back of my mind, and I was just wondering, do you think that JUUL would still be around today if Big Tobacco didn't buy him? Do you think that original group would have stuck around, or do you think that original group would have said, hey, we made our money, we're out? It's kind of I started thinking about that the other day, because those guys
just sell their stuff here. They also sell it in other, they sell it in the UK.
Well, they would have continued
they still have, income, and they were at one point the most popular, device that everybody was using and having success with. So I feel like somebody would have picked it up. I don't think it would have just died.
Yeah, no, because I always wondered, because those two guys they were investors. They weren't vapors. They had never smoked. They didn't do it. They were just two Silicon. Yeah, they're two Silicon Valley guys that said, hey, we can do this better. And they did. And, it made me wonder, would they have stuck around in the US or just said, hey, you know what, we're not going to deal with this nonsense. We're just going to go somewhere else. And
I mean,
they got hammered everywhere else, though, right, Allie?
Yeah, I mean, they're just trying to save face. I mean, I think if they were truly about harm reduction, they would have never pulled anything from the market. They would have said, absolutely not. Our customers depend on this. Flavors are also harm reduction, and we're going to prove it to you, rather than just bow down to the FDA so they could, get some kind of, respect from them, which I don't think they'll ever get. But I mean, honestly, their ads are no more appealing to youth than an alcohol ad. If anything, they're less appealing if you really compare, do a side-by-side comparison.
Well, you said something that made me think, because once the Big Tobacco bought them, I can't remember the actual name of the company right now off the top of my head. Altria. You would think that approach to, hey, this is harm reduction, we're not going to move any of it, would help out, but they just, do you think that was more of the original owner's idea than Big Tobacco? Because
I think they were just trying to save themselves at that point. I think they're like, oh, the FDA doesn't like this. We'll get approved if we do everything the FDA says and look like we're responsible.
Yeah, because I always wonder. I was, they got their $2 billion or $4 billion? $4 billion? I don't know what it was. It was a lot of money they got.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, when you said that, it's like, okay, they dumped all this stuff. I wonder why none of the CEOs or executives over at the tobacco company said, no, don't give in. Let's hold out and wait. This is harm reduction.
Because like you said, they're not vapors. They have
no clue. Vapors.
Yeah. It's weird to me, because it's a bit of a conflict of interest, right? Because you got tobacco companies who are onboarding with a product that theoretically takes money out of their pockets, so they would want to invest in a company like that when they saw it going on around them anyway, right? So I mean, you have us who aren't jewelers necessarily, and they're like, we're idiots, we're losing money to the vapor industry. Why wouldn't we invest in a company that has the C-store market pretty much nailed down? Whereas the majority of the stuff that we're engaged in, minus the disposables that have kind of shown up onto the landscape now, is we were more specialty shops or limited stuff on the corner store, whereas they just kind of cornered the C-store market, which they were getting the consequential person wanting to try something to get off of cigarettes. So I think in that regard, they probably would not have fallen away just simply because of the market that they were embedded in with Blue and Enjoy, which is where you find the majority of that stuff. So they had that hands down, because us in our industry, we're not going to walk into the C store and try to put our products on the shelf readily because we don't want to be associated with the tobacco industry.
Right.
We want to be seen as or viewed as the answer to the to the
and we want to also educate consumers about how to use the products, what's the right nicotine level, and you can't get that kind of help in a convenience store. So it's, you know, we would never want somebody getting their hands on a product unless they actually knew how to use it and what was right for them to actually quit, because we care about people quitting smoking.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to even recommend a 50, 60 milligram pod system to somebody unless, you know, they were, you know, shit. Yeah, I would almost have to say, what, 2.5, 3 pack a day smoker?
3 packs a day, yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to help JUUL out, but I always wondered why they had such a huge market, and they had everybody, and they had executives using them, whatever, kids, whatever you want to say, but they had executives using them, they had truck drivers, they had everybody using that product. I don't understand why they didn't go to some sort of membership program where keep it away from the C stores, keep it away from the vape shops, keep it away from everybody, and just had a membership service where we'll send you we'll send you new cartridges every month, and this way you don't have to go to the
or a licensed retail JUUL
retail
store.
license.
Just that sells JUUL.
But you notice the one thing about JUUL that they never ever got pushed into having to really do, which it would seem like in our sphere it has to happen often, or at least you start to lose interest, is they never had to innovate. They never had to do anything beyond the original JUUL. Now I know that they were coming out with JUUL 2 with the Bluetooth
but that was just for the FDA. Yeah,
that was for the FDA.
So, but if you look at them like, you know, the one that stands alone, it's like they didn't have to embellish or come out with new devices. Now maybe that's where I would tell you, would they have gone away if Big Tobacco hadn't bought in? No, but I do think they would have been put to the test and said, well, we're going to have to come up with newer stuff to keep people intrigued and interested, because somebody's going to outpace them eventually and come up with a better disposable, a better flavored a more you know, different things.
Well, that's
bigger
the thing
pod,
too.
you know, bigger
pods. So
1 mil pod. Yeah,
that's the one thing. Maybe I'm being naive here, but that's like the one thing that I kind of gave them credit for, was just sticking to a single colored pattern. No fancy shit, no purples, no yellow, no greens, just stick to the basic black device, nothing fancy. And to me, that was like saying, okay, we don't want kids using this. You know, this isn't fancy enough. Doesn't have tribal marks on it. It's not purple. It's not green. It's not blue. It's your basic ass black, you know? So they never did
packaging.
jump. Even the skins were third party though.
Yep. Well, the packaging for their pods was also not flashy at all. I mean, you have the green to, you know, just the different colors on them, which is super minimal, just to show the flavor difference.
Yeah.
But they did it with other things that we don't do, and that is influencers and names, and it's the party thing to do when you go out to the clubs, and you know, and
celebrities on Instagram posting, I don't go anywhere without my JUUL. Like,
exactly. So they used other weapons to make an otherwise bland looking, non-flashy thing cool.
And I don't think they even needed to do that. That's the crazy thing, because
you just have to get it in the right people's hands is what you have to do. And they have the money and the influence to do that. So they didn't have to have them then advertise it, but they.
Well, I think they grabbed a part of the market that we are having. I still think to this day have a hard time grabbing, is that executive, that corporate guy, that person. I don't think we have that group, that individual that feels comfortable enough to put a device in their $600-700 suit like they were with the JUUL. They didn't. That JUUL just, you know, they didn't have to worry about it. It wasn't going to leak. It wasn't going to.
It's discreet. It doesn't push out a whole lot of vapor, so it doesn't draw a whole lot of attention, and it's easy to get away with doing it in a setting where you can sneak into the bathroom and puff on that real quick instead of going outside to smoke a cigarette.
I'll tell you, when that product came out, I was in maybe a month or 2 months into after it was out on the market. I was out in San Francisco doing some street photography on a Tuesday, and everybody walking out of every building was hitting a JUUL. And these were all, these are all corporate people. And I started thinking to myself, wow, this really took off. I mean, everybody was JUULing. I hate using that word, but they were all JUULing. And I just kind of looked around, and I had my device. I'm blowing out a big cloud. And I had a couple guys come up to me and ask me, because they were like, what the hell just came out of your mouth, And I was like, no, it's a vape device, same thing you have in your hand, but I get to, it's a little bit more custom. I got a little bit more battery life. I got, the ability to switch juices, build my own coils, all this. And he was kind of intrigued, but yet again, I don't see him taking, this device and carrying it around with him all day,
Too much work too. Some people just like the simplicity of it. Like they just like to be able to just grab and go, pop a pot in and use it until it's gone.
Yep. And they don't care. And that's the thing too. The other thing, which I thought was funny too, is you would think that that group wants that shit that's coming from China, or Japan, and those custom, they were not even in, they didn't care. I showed them mods, are like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And
too big.
This from Italy, and like, yeah, that's cool. Not interested in squonking, not interested in RTAs, none of that. They just wanted to hit their mod and put it back in their pocket. And it's crazy. And I know before we jump into the other thing, but didn't the advertisement company get hit too with fines?
I don't know for sure, but I mean, you would assume,
because they used an outside. They used an outside.
That's JUUL's responsibility, right? I mean, JUUL paid them to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, because I remember reading somewhere that they got in some trouble as well, and then they tried to throw it back into them. Well, you signed off on this stuff, and blah blah blah. Everything was pitched.
Yeah, they were marketing it the same way everything else is marketed. Yeah. Like at the time, they probably didn't really even think twice about doing it. They just were thinking about making money and getting it out and getting eyes on the product.
Yeah, because if I can find that article, I'll look for it. But I remember reading the article about how there was this fight between JUUL and the advertisement company as well. And then somebody was saying that they wanted to sue the advertisement company as well. And I was like, how do you sue the they drew it up, but someone at JUUL needs to ask
for that. Yeah,
you got to put a signature on it, man. Before it goes out there. It's like, hey, this is what we did. Go with it. Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in $1 million companies. No. All right. Anything else you guys want to throw out there on JUUL? Are we done with JUUL? Should we say a prayer for JUUL? Should we say a prayer for JUUL? Dude, like, no.
They don't need our prayers. They're going to be just fine.
They got plenty of money. I'll just end on the note that.
Well, I can tell you that they are going to be $438 million less.
I'm sure they'll be
sure.
But what I'm saying to them, I mean, that sounds like a lot of money, but when you think about who they're in bed with, that's probably a drop in the bucket.
Nothing.
Yeah. Allie, what do you got, Allie?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
So I'm going to preface this because something happened today that I want to discuss. Okay. So I need to read this because I want to make sure that I don't mess it up. So a member of a trade organization that I work with had an FDA inspection today. Came into his warehouse and told him, now, mind you, this is a person who has an MDO for tobacco-derived nicotine and an RTA for synthetic, okay? They said that his synthetic products were illegal, but wanted him, and this is all on audio, camera, the whole nine, wanted him to keep doing what he's doing because the FDA is not worried about open systems or manufacturers that do not do interstate commerce. So are not selling online or shipping. Crazy, okay? He then said, do I need to follow up or anything like that? And he said, no, you have my number, got the guy's number, badge ID, number, every, name, all that. And said, no, if I need anything else, I'll follow up with you. The weirdest thing. So that was the first thing that I started my day out with. Then we get some news, which I don't know if you follow Greg Connolly on Twitter. I'm sure we all do, but he's kind of been taunting Brian King 60 days that he's been FDA commissioner and hasn't.
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy.
Yeah, basically he hasn't made it a public announcement whatsoever about anything since he's taken over that position. So later on that day, we get an article from Politico, which mind you, is funded by, in part by Tobacco Free Kids, aka Bloomberg, and also had the opportunity to sit down with him and said that the future of the center that regulates tobacco products, including e-cigs and menthol cigarettes, is not planning to do any mass enforcement to take these products off of the market, which is pretty big, right? Because he could essentially say everything that's not approved has to come off the market right now. Now, granted, they'd still have to get enforcement and try to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like most of y'all, I'm going out in handcuffs, so come and get it. But they could legally order them to be removed, and they haven't so far, and probably won't. He also goes on to say, the agency can strike a balance between two needs. There's no safe tobacco product, and that includes e-cigarettes. The safety is also different than risk, and there is a continuum of risk with certain products carrying greater risk compared to others. Obviously, FDA is super vague every time they say anything about anything.
Yep.
He refused to commit to a timeline as far as like banning menthol cigarettes and stuff like that. I personally at first thought that was encouraging, but then I remembered who it was coming from. So I kind of took a step back and I was like, don't get too excited about anything like that, because it kind of leaves it up in the air for, small vape shops. Any day he could just decide today's the day, or as American Vapor manufacturers pointed out on Twitter, he could just be waving it around saying, look, I need to do more. I'm not doing anything. And he could use that as a reason to then start to do something. So you really don't know where that leaves you. What is the FDA going to do? Deny PMTAs, refuse to accept our applications, and then come in and fine us, and then we pay the fine and it's business as usual until they come in again? Like, is that how that's going to work out? How long could that last without it being a disaster? So I'm just not understanding like really where he's going with that. Like I said, essentially it's a blessing. He's not saying remove everything from the market, but at the same time, he's not saying that that's not going to happen. So it just kind of leaves us in limbo. Unfortunately, the article was paywalled, so I only got to see so much of it. There is a Google link that I saw earlier, which I will find and send over to you, John, where you can listen to the interview.
Oh, yeah, they have those.
Yep. So I will get that for you. But I don't know. I really don't know what to make of it. I mean, I think, silence is not an answer.
Yeah. Well, you think that's their move too. It's just, hey, we'll just keep finding you until we figure it out. And that, that's not, it's not hurting them in any way. It's hurting us, but it's not going to hurt them in any way. They can just every couple months say, hey, we just came by. We're here to check out your shop. Oh, you still have that?
Right.
There you go. Here's your fine.
Right. Yeah.
Thank God
so
we're
I'm
not
just
in
not
Australia.
sure of how they could come in and say, keep doing what you're doing. I can't think that those two instances, the article with his kind of stance and then that inspection, it's not a coincidence. Like the FDA doesn't just come in and say, oh, do whatever you want. And then just, you can't tell somebody that, especially when you're being recorded. So that has to come from somewhere. But are they trying to
I know they're all branched out. There's branches, all over and everywhere. I just kind of wonder if they're all on the same page sometimes, because you hear these types of stories. You wonder if Charlotte's up to date with what the FDA wants, or the actual building people at the FDA want, or each county or wherever each state has a branch of their FDA. I wonder if they're all.
The East Coast currently, what I've heard is the East Coast has like 26 agents right now total that are actually going around and doing inspections. This was in Texas. But I feel like there has to be one unified message of some kind.
Yeah, you think there would be.
So the fact that he said, just keep doing what you're doing, the FDA is not worried about people that produce for open systems. And as long as you're not shipping, you're good.
Yeah. Tim, you got something?
Yeah.
You going to say something, Tim? I saw you lean in.
No, I mean, I'm just trying. I'm trying to make heads or tails out of the whole, the motion of the commentary around that.
Tails.
Yep. Tails. Do I get to defend that end of the goal, or am I kicking off? Okay. I don't know. I don't know what to make out of it. it's so hard to figure out what they're trying to do. So I mean, why would you tell somebody to continue doing what they're doing? I mean,
that's like a mom saying, you're not supposed to do that, but once I turn around, go ahead.
I'm curious to see if they'll get a warning letter now following that.
I'm wondering, I know you weren't there, but and actually you should know, but are they allowed to, do they come in with a warrant of some sort, or they just can't walk right into your shop?
They can.
Oh shit. See, I thought it was just like, it's a government agency. This is my property. This is my building. At least give me a, hey, I'm going to be there at 3:45 p.m.
Sometimes they will give you a heads up. I'll tell you, when we had our inspection of our lab and stuff like that, after we received our MDO, they did let us know that they were coming as a courtesy. That doesn't always happen. But I mean, technically, if you have, like, we have one warehouse and production facility and then 16 retail locations, technically they can walk into any retail location at any time and do whatever they want. I mean, it's all they're doing is taking notes and asking questions and
I mean, they're not looking at books and all that other stuff. They're just kind of looking at your operation as a whole, just visually what's there in front of them. I mean, they're not asking, hey, what's going in this juice? They don't ask stuff
they ask, are you still producing your MDO'd liquids? Of course not. We had a sign on the door that said lab closed. That was sufficient. Seriously, that was sufficient. And that was, they tried to get us to sign something that they refused to allow our lawyer to look over, which I thought was crazy.
Remember that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like it's, you never know what you're going to get. And I always try to stay, I try to stay optimistic, but at the same time, like I'm, fool me 27 times, FDA. Like, you're not going to fool me again. Like, you've done enough now.
See, I always thought they had to have some sort of documentation before they walked into your building and
they have to have an ID badge to show who they are. But technically, I mean, these products are registered. They can come in and inspect whenever they want. You can say you can come back in 24 hours. I have to talk to my lawyer, and they will. But
okay, so you can pull the lawyer card.
But a lot of people don't.
Yeah, it's just going to cause more. What's going on that I have to wait 24 hours for?
They think that, they comply because they think that they're doing the right thing. Because that's why we all comply. That's why we all register our products, changed our labels, and did all the things that they asked us to do. Because we think as long as we're compliant and we're doing the right thing, that's going to be enough.
Yeah, I was thinking you were going to say that your sign in the front door wasn't the right font and the right size, and they went.
It was Arial font.
You need to use this font, this size.
Super boring. They were like, oh.
Well, shit, they have that for the warning on the package of the cigarette. It has to be 25% or 23% of the actual packaging, and that applies for our bottles as well, right? It has to be a certain percentage of the bottle.
Yeah, a certain percentage.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I was just trying to think back to the days where I worked in a restaurant, and I remember them. I don't think it's the food. It's somebody else, but it's with the counter. They would just walk in too. There's no hello, what's going on? They just come in and just go right through your kitchen, man.
I mean, that just seems like that's the way they would want to do it, to see if they can't catch any significant violations. I mean, if they, if you announce you're coming, then, people have theoretically the time to clean their tracks. So, they want to try to catch you red-handed in some way, shape, or form. I mean, no different than OSHA coming in and looking for violations or something like that. I'm sure any government-run agency has the luxury to kind of step in whenever they want.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. If they're the ones that are regulating you, absolutely.
Yeah, if they're regulating, I just find that kind of odd where they can just walk into a business and just start evaluating and just walk around your business like, but I get it. I mean, I understand. You can't do that in someone's house.
When they were coming, we just put close signs on all the doors and hide out for the day.
Get out. We're gonna shut this place down. Well, like you said, though, I mean, that's for them not to come up with a decision only benefits them, and it's just they can just continue to fine us. Just keep writing you up and fining you, and then eventually, I'll be honest. I mean, you're right, because a lot of the smaller they can't handle that. They're not going to be able to stay in business.
Another comment too that the agent made, what you just reminded me, he literally said, we expected most of the industry to dry up and close because we didn't think you guys could afford to switch to synthetic.
Yeah. Jackass.
Surprise. we're not going anywhere.
yeah. Maybe you see that door.
Yeah,
That's where you're going. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's tough when you're dealing with the government, but I always assumed that you needed like a search warrant because it is a business. It's your business. But I guess once you're involved in food and
I
other
think the
stuff
only
that
way
do
that they would need law
public
enforcement is
health.
to do seizure because they don't have the authority to do that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Or they might even be looking for more egregious kinds of things where people are trying to sell stuff that they know they're trying to stop coming in, over the water and stuff like that. They're trying to see if you're peddling that behind your shelves. So even though they know that they're going to see stuff that you're probably not supposed to technically be doing.
But it's virtually impossible to know who's accepted, who's got a denial. That's not like they're constantly updating or an RTA. Like, so as a business owner, you everything we have on the shelf has applied for a PMTA, but who knows what the actual status is at this point of the PMTA? Like,
does he even have any paperwork in his hand? That's what I want to know. Is he carrying
a
little fucking clipbook?
Yeah, like
on it. Little notebooks.
I hate this job.
that guy's hair was touching his collar. No. I mean, for them, that's like I said. I mean, they can just continue to find everybody and dry out the smaller market and just keep going that way until they're forced into a corner to actually make a decision, which may take years before they. I don't see, like you said, this is the first time he has spoken out, and he's been in office how long now?
Right. And he did an exclusive interview with Politico, which when the article first came out, the audio was not available until later on, or if it wasn't posted. But it's like, and you look at the funding for that organization and it's tobacco free kids. And you're like, how can this be,
Yeah. Well, I mean, is there, I know it's I'm dreaming, I'm thinking outside the box though. Is there a way that we could get a sit down? I mean, the community, not the community, but the industry actually get a sit down with him and try to get an idea. You would think that would be a step that needs to be done with this type of industry. It's like, and
I think they have to be willing. I think they have to be willing to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think I think that has to be forced upon him. He has to have a feeling that he needs to have that sit down. There's got to be whether it's a political advantage for him to do it later on in his career that he did that, because it's always about what is it going to benefit me down the road with these guys.
Right.
I mean, that was Trump's play. I mean, did he care about vapors? Really not, but that was a play for him politically.
He cared when they came back and told him that it was going to affect small business and how much it was going to impact small business. And he was like, no, we can't do that. But Trump was a businessman. He understood.
He's a business guy.
And he was willing to talk to us, which was nice to at least have our voices heard. And I think it did make a difference. Went from banning all flavors to just banning closed pod systems. But I don't know. I think.
What do you think it would take for him to finally say, hey, let's and I mean, we have a few organizations now that are out there that could actually sit down, discuss his product to him and make him, does he want to listen? Will he listen? I don't know, but at least give some hope to the community. Cause I think our community right now, from just watching other shows and what's going out there, as far as I think we're at a low end right now. I think,
I mean, we're still here and we're still fighting and we're never going to not fight. It's hard to just keep taking it. I mean, and you have to wonder too, his stance prior to becoming, the FDA commissioner, he was extremely vocal about how he thought e-cigarettes were bad and the youth and all of that. He made plenty of statements on that. Yeah. But you have to wonder if maybe this new scientific advisory person that has been kind of pro-vaping has maybe been having some logical conversations with him and showing him some science and maybe potentially has moved the needle just a tiny bit, because what he was saying today is a big jump from what he was saying. So it could, I mean, you want to hope that that's the case, but you just don't know because they're never open and clear with anything that they say.
Yeah.
Well,
Tim.
I was going to say, you got to watch out too, because he may want to. That may have been strategic too, in the sense that people who, might vote one way or another in an election based on commentary that comes from a particular administration that's struggling right now to have popularity. it might be a strategic ploy to say something hopeful, so that, you get people to jump on board and be like, okay, well, hey, they're coming around. So when I wouldn't have voted for you before because you were so adamant that you didn't support it, now you kind of support it? Oh, so you're not going to take it away from me? Oh, okay. Right. Maybe you just bought a few votes.
Right.
And so,
well, maybe he should know better, though, that we already know better than that. And if you actually want the vote, you got to make some actual real changes rather than just some vague statement that's a little nicer than what the last statement was that you made.
So let me ask you guys both, it's 2 years away, but do you think this topic will be discussed on the next election for president? You think it's going to become a major topic?
I don't know.
Did we even get up on the board as a question during the debates? No.
Well,
I thought there was one.
That tax reformers wrote that article. Paul Blair wrote that article about how it could directly affect Trump being reelected, and the number of vapors in that at the time were like, "Hey, we vape, we vote. A single issue voter here. Like, you don't care about this, I don't care about you. I'm not voting for you." And I think that did have an impact. I think that the source it came from, I think it did have an impact. And we even saw that Trump had made remarks about he wished that he never messed with the vaping thing. So, I think he felt it, but I mean, is somebody going to vote for somebody, because of their views on vaping or their views on abortion? Like, I don't know if it's going to be that kind of an issue, especially with everything that's going on right now.
Yeah. I think there's too many social hot button issues that people will take a look at. Inflation, other things outside. I think we'll focus on a candidate who might be more pro vaping. I think we certainly are a little bit more knowledgeable about exactly what's happening to the industry. I think I was addressing the voter you gather by someone who's sort of a fringe pay attentioner kind of person. It's like, they're like, well, I can't go to my local vape shop anymore and get that stuff that I wanted, and I'm finding it harder to order it online. What the hell is going on? And then they know a little bit. So I don't know that you buy it, but does that question end up on the big stage? I'm gonna say no, simply because I think although it's being painted up to be this big issue,
there's bigger issues that they're going to focus
on. When they put that candidate on stage and being like, what are you going to do to change America? His first thought isn't going to be like, I'm going to say vaping.
Going after those vapors.
Yep. That's exactly that's going to be my first executive order. I'm going to reverse all of the decisions around the FDA and tobacco.
I think if we spin it around and change it, take the word vaping out of there and you start using the word harm reduction, I think it's a good way of possibly getting that up there as a question. And I think last year or the year before, or not last election or the year before that, or
at that time,
I think they had the hashtag where you could actually get a question in there. I think if we all, 13 million of us, were to somehow, some way get that in there and make it about harm reduction. Don't use the word vapor and vaping and e-liquid, and just focus on the harm reduction part of it. I mean, I think that could get up there and actually be an actual question, for them to actually debate.
It could be. I mean, it could be, but I don't know. They're still going to use
be a realist. Be a realist.
Well, they're still going to use the kids. Yeah.
Yep. And I would say I'm a little nervous about even talking about harm reduction, right? Because once you start throwing us on the pile of all the other harm reduction stuff that is spoken about, where it's about getting people off of harder drugs and getting them off the street and all that other stuff. And then, you got stories on news like, oh, they're putting crack pipes in harm reduction boxes. And that bothers people. If we get thrown into that pile, then what is it exactly that we're doing that they need? I think you have to continue to use a focus word, and that's tobacco harm reduction.
Tobacco harm reduction. Yeah. I mean, but it needs to change. It needs to, I mean, there's 13 million of us here in the United States. So,
it's getting everybody organized. I think everybody feels like no matter what they do or say, it's not going to make a difference. And that's not true. That's definitely not true. I mean, you have to just start at your local, with your local representatives and kind of move your way up, because if you make it a big enough issue, if every single customer that shopped at E-Cig Charleston sent an email to McMaster about vaping, it would get his attention, in South Carolina for sure. But it's getting everybody organized enough to do something like that and all at once. So the numbers are like overwhelming.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, you'd have to get every part of this industry to focus on that and just push it. Hey, buy a bottle of e-liquid, have a little note in there. Hey, don't forget on this day, hashtag this, put it. I mean, it's doable. Yes, it does cost money, but it's just a matter of
scan codes on the countertops at all 16 locations. It took you right to an email, and you could just send your email and even put a video, which I think is a lot more impactful, because you get an email from 80-year-old Gladys who's been vaping for 6 years, and that's going to make you think, hey, not just kids are using this stuff.
I just, for me, I'm always one of those people that, I get laughed at a lot of times. Even Phil Bassar, told me to relax, or no, it was Dimitri, relax. We can't do that, John. But I'm always thinking, let's do something. We have to do something different, outside of the box, get noticed. And it has to be something positive, and stop, for years and years, we did get in the news feed, but it was always this battery blew up, or, this kid had this vape in the bathroom. It's always negative stuff. And I think we need to somehow get back into that.
Honestly, this whole thing, like I'm doing with the World Vapors Alliance, which I don't get paid for, by the way. I know that they have some kind of BAT funding, but they do a lot of good, and they've done a lot of good. But if you look at some of their campaigns and the things that they do, it's super attention grabbing. I mean, they have their van, they have these, exhibitions where they put like lights up on buildings in the main areas where people are, like that gets people's attention. And so I think that was my main goal when I was discussing that with them and becoming a part of that, is bringing some of that over here. It would be amazing if we could do some of those big campaigns over here, attention grabbing campaigns.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's, I forget, we looked it up. It's pretty expensive, but it was that van that drives around with the changing screen. It was fucking expensive.
Well, that was that was the one. Wasn't that the one in the UK or whatever?
Yeah, we have them here. I've seen them in San Francisco.
Well, they have a World Vapors Alliance van, and they go around and they advocate to people, but it's painted nice, and that would be something that they would support over here. So that, I think, could be a big deal, organizing a bunch of people to do something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, theoretically, I mean, if you could just have the general Joe citizen that, decided to take up a vape advocacy fight, and then you just kind of strategically or periodically place this van in a certain area, that just said, talk to me about tobacco harm reduction, and try to educate some people on the overall premise, kind of like, kind of a change my mind van.
Right. Yeah. And also, if you do big exhibitions and stuff like that, and have a big production about it, it's going to catch attention. You might be on the local news. Somebody might write an article about you, which is going to catch some lawmakers' attention.
Yeah.
And maybe be like, what is this all about? Why are they doing this?
I just, like I said, I think we just, it's time to start thinking outside the box, and maybe being just a tad bit more aggressive. That's all. I mean, they don't play fair. Why should we?
Right.
Right.
And if we don't start now, when are we going to do it?
Yeah. I mean, we always laugh. We always say, they keep moving the goalposts. Well, maybe we should start, putting some cement down there at the bottom of that goalpost, try to keep it where it's at. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, how much more are they going to take away from us before we're like, all right, that's enough.
I mean, it gets to the point, I think it will ever get to the point where Australia is, where it'll end up being a prescription? Probably not. But it's going to get to the point where it's going to be maybe not so difficult for people like us, Allison and Tim, and some of the senior vapors to get their liquid. But that new guy, or that guy that lives out in the sticks, that, you can't get it mailed, and the nearest vape shop is a fucking 2.5 hour drive away from his home, and he doesn't even have a car.
Right.
There's no bus.
Yeah.
That's the guy. Do you have another article there, Allie?
That was all I had for today. That was like the big one. I think Tim had a lot of stuff that he was going to cover last week, so I just kind of picked that. Plus, that was a big one. That was like a lot.
Do we want to give Tim an hour and 10 minutes of the show time? I don't know. Look at him shake his head. No, we can't hear you, Tim.
He's got a lot to cover.
Well, I mean, I had three, and I don't know that it's worthy of an hour and 10 minutes.
Well, we could jump into it, and then at the end of the show, with time's left, we could just have a little fun, talk about some stuff. Talk about our favorite e-liquids, our favorite flavors, why mango is number one. What else?
You know what? I ordered some e-liquid the other day, and I got 2 mango flavors.
Good boy.
Just for all the mango fans out there, all the people that just can't stay away from it. I got 2 huge bottles of it.
And when I run out, I actually go to the supermarket and buy mangoes so I can eat them, so I can still have that flavor. I do. I'm not kidding.
Just a mango fanatic.
Mango.
Yeah, and it's horrible too, because every time my box comes in, I like start digging through the green paper looking for something that says mango on it.
Yeah. Hey, Travis. You know what I hate? And I don't hate it, but I'm glad that they fixed the issue many years ago. But you know what? I used to love the fact that some bottles would leak, because I would get my box and I would open the mailbox and this amazing smell would just come floating out of my mailbox. Now it's just cardboard and mail, but you know, it's almost like I think they should like just crack one open, spread it around a little bit.
They got those nicotine sniffing dogs now.
But they've got it down to where not one single bottle leaks anymore. And I kind of miss the fact that you know, occasionally every now and then one of the bottles would leak, and I would open that mailbox. And my mailman, I remember my mailman when I first started getting my box from Zample Box. He's like, dude, that box made my truck smell so good. What is in there, man? I was like,
yeah, but what we're failing to acknowledge too, that the reason why the smell was so pungent is because they still had glass bottles back then.
Glass bottles.
They more than likely something leaked or something broke. That was. Now it's plastic, so you're not going to get that.
They're plastic and they don't leak. I've noticed. I think pretty much everybody's using the same bottle manufacturer now, pretty much all the way around the industry.
Yeah,
probably. So they've gotten it down. They've gotten it down to the seal, everything. I occasionally still have, every now and then, we'll occasionally have the tip come off, which is a bitch when you fill up when you go to squeeze it and the whole thing comes out and just there goes 30 mils of e-liquid on your desk. Yeah, I still occasionally get that, but I don't get any leaking bottles. And like I said, I miss opening my mailbox and just having that array of different fruit smells come and hit me in the nose.
Yeah.
Yep, that was good. That's always good stuff.
That was good. When my uncle had his barbershop, which was an old school barbershop here in Modesto, and it's just old guys in there. Sorry, but I had a bottle in my pocket that was leaking, and it smelled like I smelled like a fruit stand. So I walk in there and I'm getting a haircut, and they're all in their late 60s and mid 60s, and I walk in there and they're like, "Hey, John, what is that cologne?" And they just started going in on me like, you smell a little fruity there, boy, and I'm like, and they just tore into me for like 20 minutes. I'm like, look over at my uncle. I was like, I'm never coming in here again, man. I didn't even need a haircut. I was just coming in to say hello, and freaking just ripped at me because I smelled like, a fruit stand. But yeah, they fixed all the bottles and stuff. I don't get any leaking bottles or nothing.
It's been a long time since I've had anything that's leaked.
Yeah. And I missed the little circle that on the top of my bottle when it would sit there. You guys ever get the little bubble that sits on
only you, John, because John would take a fucking picture of it.
High res
every time, like a super close up thing. And like I think the rest of us were like retreating back to our vape tables, like opening up every bottle so that we could see if we could get the stupid bubble to show up.
I would take
none of us, John. Only
super 4K freaking shot of this perfect bubble, and you could see all the rainbow colors in it. And it would just be, it's this tiny little bubble because of the picture. It looks like this huge bubble, and everyone's like, "Wow!"
I just get like the pooling up thing going on the top. Like John has like a little bubble up here, like right at the top of the stem. I just get a big, huge pool of liquid that just kind of rests at the bottom of the stem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, they got, the other thing that I don't know what they did or fixed, but I don't know if you guys have noticed, it's like after you fill up your bottle or your tank up and then you turn your bottle back upside down. Remember how it used to always drip down the sides of it and you would get it all? They fixed that too. So I don't know who it is, whoever that guy is over at Gorilla Bottles.
I still get that. I still get that, especially when I fill up this mod and I turn it back over and I just watch it kind of like volcanoing out of the tip.
Yeah.
So I get
this
when you
big
huge puddle. Yeah, then it's like it spills out all over the desk. You probably lose about a mil each time that happens.
Think about that though. You lose a mil every time you do it though.
It's all a ploy. It's all a ruse to get me to buy more e-liquid. I have to waste a mil because if it isn't on my table, it's in a paper towel. So.
You're gonna and that's where you take the paper towel and you strain it when you're really low.
It really isn't.
or I love like your favorite bottle and you're done, but you just have like there's just like a milliliter and a mil is still in it, and you take a mod that you don't use and you would take the bottle and you just put it upside down into the RDA and just let it drip into there, and so you can just get 2 more hits out of it.
Yeah,
I used to just cut the top off the bottle, pour it in that way.
Oh, I would always grab my mod and then I would just put it on top of there and let it sit on my desk and just let it drip in there until I got every milliliter.
Exactly.
You have a lot more patience than me. I'm just cutting the bottle in half.
Those were the old days. That was the old, I told you I found. I didn't vape it. Everybody relax, but the box is back probably down 2000.
The molasses piece.
2015, and they were all 15 mil glass. I didn't vape any of them, but it was just cool. I was going through all these boxes and I opened it up and I was like, oh, glass with the dropper. I was like, this is great. And then I took a little bit and put it on I was like, oh, no.
No, that's way too
dark. I don't even think I have one of those left.
I got 15 of them. If you want.
15 mil dripper bottles?
Yeah, they're all full, all brand new. Never open. And they've been in the box. So that's why I thought, well, maybe they're still good because they were still in the box. Here's one of them on my desk when I was going to try.
What color is the e-liquid?
It's whipped flowy. Yeah.
But what color is the e-liquid?
It's actually really good color. It's actually not a bad color. It's almost a caramel color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What flavor is
pretty shocking.
It looks like whipped cream. I'm going to dip some on my finger.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
That's really good.
So it's still good. The nicotine may have kind of degraded significantly over that time, but you might still have the flavor. Everything seemed that I had for that long a period of time and just turned black.
Yeah, no. Well, these were I never opened them, so I never even opened the box. It was still taped shut. I never got to that box. I just threw it in the closet. I just had so much e-liquid. I would just throw it out there, and I get to it later. But yeah, there's still some weird names in there too. Some that I haven't seen in a long freaking time.
Lots of come and gone since probably that time.
A lot have come and gone. I was trying to find that.
How long on sample box?
How
long have you been around?
Oh, sample box?
How many years?
Oh, I don't know. Shit, years now. At least I'm gonna say 8.
I'm probably like 6.
Yeah. I've been them for a long time. I'm gonna see if I can actually find my. Yeah, I'm not gonna find my date.
No, it's too hard. You'd have to find out when you first join the group or something.
I don't have that access anymore. They took it away from me. I can't access the sample box computers anymore. That was a smart move on their end, though, to be honest.
What, to take away your admin?
Take my access to the computers.
Oh.
So I can look up to see if you were an actual member before you could.
I was.
Yeah.
Nope.
Timmy, you want to hit us with the news?
Let's talk some news. Hold on, I got to find something to tap.
You find your thing, and then I'll find this thing, and then you can find that thing. And tell me when you're ready, and I'll hit the bumper.
Go.
Oh, okay. All right. Where is it? Which one is it now? Oh, shit. Hold on. I'm going to get this right, man.
It's been so long.
It's been so
where
long.
It is.
There it is.
All right, I'm tapping my notepad, god damn it, because I don't have any papers right now. But the print jobs are coming out so bad I can't really read them much anymore. But you know what? It was more or less for backup anyway. But I thought I had a few articles from the week before, well, last week. So our guests last week, they were wonderful guests. So we didn't really get to the news section of the show. So I pulled up a few, but I thought I'd start with the long-winded one. I do have a couple advocacy ones, so we haven't been able to find any of those in a good long while. So we'll transfer to that. But I thought I would talk about this one because it kind of tethers off of not only last week's guests, but it also has been it tethers off of some of the conversation that we've had today. So let me share my screen.
Share it.
Yep. Hold on.
You have access.
Yeah. I'm going. There it is. Nice stash. I feel like I'm watching a 1970s porn movie right now. Look at that stash, man. So there's been some new survey data that's come out that's kind of contradicted sort of the FDA's claims and a lot of the generic claims that are out there that kids are vaping more and it's quite the epidemic that it's always been, and they still ride this tailwind of the idea that it's a massive epidemic. But as we all know, and if you spend enough time on Twitter and especially around Charles Gardner, and the information he brings to the table, consistently throws out information to refute that wholeheartedly, and that we know that in the last handful of a few years anyway, that the teen vaping numbers have kind of dropped significantly. That they haven't really been able to prove the gateway theory, which was a lot of the rave that was out there, that if kids start vaping, they're going to start smoking, and there's a definite gateway opening to that. And we're not seeing that because we're also seeing the smoking numbers decline, and even with I think there's been a small percentage of people who have, or at least in some communities, San Francisco being one of them, that you're finding, and I don't know that there's any study to prove that these go hand in hand, but that, since vaping was effectively flavor banned or, banned in that particular city, that, kids are turning to cigarettes, right? But I don't want to say that that's inherently linked to the fact that they no longer can get their hands on vaping, although it's not accessible. It doesn't really prove any gateway theory. It's just to say that this is their only option, right? If you're gonna go ahead and rebel and you're gonna go ahead and do stuff that you're not supposed to be doing, which almost literally every generation of kids do it. I mean, we're certainly not angels by any stretch of the imagination. That this is where they'll turn. So this survey that came out, it cast doubt on the FDA's opposition to flavored e-cigarettes. So great article in reason.com. So the epidemic of adolescent vaping seems to be fading fast, and vaping is replacing smoking among adults, a harm-reducing trend that regulators seemed determined to discourage, especially that guy right there, Commissioner Robert Califf. So a federal, has to do with the guest that we had.
Is that a bow tie? Is that a green bow tie? Wow, yeah, man. That guy's got balls.
My dad still orders bow ties, if you believe that.
That's a Southern man right there, right?
He looks like he's probably the VP to Colonel Sanders.
He's got the secret recipe, Jim.
He holds the football right there. That guy, like the Colonel, actually he's a figurehead. He just talks about shit. He makes because he's all welcoming and warm. He's like Mr. Green Jeans on well, everybody remembers Mr. Green Jeans, Captain Kangaroo, right?
Captain Kangaroo,
right? So for all the old folks in the chat would remember Captain Kangaroo, So he's like Mr. Green Jeans to Captain Kangaroo, right?
Yeah.
So this guy, and look at his beady little eyes, how they're narrow. I'm glad he doesn't watch the show because he probably hates eyes. Look at them. They're all narrow. They're they're really close together.
If he spoke to me, I wouldn't trust him.
No, he looks like he'd be one of those guys that try to sell ice to an Eskimo. Pretty much. Anyway, but regarding the case last week and our guest that came on the show, the federal appeals court this week sided with several companies whose applications to sell nicotine vaping products in a variety of flavors were rejected by the Food and Drug Administration. And so we kind of know that that particular ruling went in the favor of the vaping industry in this particular case, and some time was bought to effectively get the FDA to back up a little bit and essentially have to review the things that they're supposed to take a look at, because they basically bypassed and didn't consider the marketing plans of a lot of these vaping companies and essentially issued them MDOs prematurely. So we know that got back to. We also know that there was a dissenting opinion from one of the particular judges who was not so warm and fuzzy to the whole idea, even though things went in the favor of the vapor industry. Judge Robin Rosenbaum noted in her dissent the manufacturer's victory probably will be short-lived, because the FDA seems dead set against allowing the sale of vaping products and flavors other than tobacco. That would be the perception. It would also appear that is the trajectory that they're trying to take. However, there's a lot of things to consider, right? Because they still like to rest on the heels and the stance that youth vaping is at the center of all of this, and that flavors are ultimately highly attractive to kids. And, if you look at some surveys, whether or not, these are valid enough to stand on, that, kids have admitted that they tried it because the flavors seemed appealing. But again, I think most kids would try anything as long as it tasted good. Not indifferent to an adult who would taste things or try things because they're good. We know that to be true because flavors for us are a primary factor in really disassociating from tobacco in general, and promotes consistency and sticking with this harm reduction program if you turn it into something like that. Obviously, we're not trying to race back to the flavor of a cigarette. No offense to those who like tobacco flavored vapes and things of that nature. I think everybody's got a propensity to like certain flavors. A pipe tobacco, a cigar tobacco, a tobacco with a caramel in it. It's to me, that does not quantify, a Marlboro Light. Right. Or a Newport or something like that. I think that there's a distinct difference when you're talking about a flavored tobacco, something that's more rich and flavorful, versus something that's just rolled up in paper and you're addicted to nicotine. So they said that the position is puzzling, since former smokers who have switched to vaping overwhelmingly prefer non-tobacco flavors, and I think most people would verify that statement. And the FDA acknowledges that electronic nicotine delivery systems, or ENDS, for those of you who didn't know what ENDS stood for, hold a great promise as a harm reducing alternative to cigarettes. But the FDA is trying to come back and saying, well, there's no evidence to substantiate that. They're trying to throw out all these other percentage arguments to say that, the most people that start vaping don't typically stick with it, or they go back to, smoking, or kind of fall off the wagon. They're not able to sustain that. And they can't say that, well, if flavors are present, it's going to promote a lot more people being successful. So, all right, we get beyond that. So the FDA's opposition of flavor variety is driven by a concern about the quote unquote epidemic of adolescent vaping. But there's a survey that's come out as survey data from the government sponsored Monitoring the Future, or MTF study, confirmed the surge in electronic cigarette use by teenagers that alarmed the FDA in 2018 and 2019 is already receding. And you can see that in statistics that are shared on Twitter all the time. I mean, these are actually statistical numbers that can be shown and are shared quite widely on Twitter. Even though adults can still buy flavored ends that remain on the market because the FDA has not yet decided whether to allow them or has not taken enforcement action against them. That those data also indicate that adolescent smoking continued to decline as vaping became more popular. The picture is similar for young adults as vaping continued to rise among 19 to 30-year-olds in 2021. Cigarette smoking hit a record low. Well, no, we don't want people the youth smoking, but I'm glad to see that the smoking numbers are decreasing in general, because that's really the name of the game, right? So if we have to concede a thought process here, we don't want kids vaping, but just be thankful they're not smoking too, because that really is sort of the crux of the issue.
Well, you're talking about 19-year-olds. That's the thing. This is the thing that kind of I'm sure it pisses everybody off, but it just seems like there's this different level of where everybody's okay with certain things at certain ages. And it's just like, okay, I've noticed like the last couple of years, oh, well, okay, their brain hasn't developed until they're 25, but it's okay if, if you're 18, you can do this and this and this, but you can't, I can't stand that. If it's there a number across the board, that's the number across the board. Stop trying to change it depending on what you're talking about. It drives me nuts, man.
Yeah. And we also know that they like to twist the number too, right? Yeah. Because they sit there and they take people kids into consideration that have vaped only once in the last 30 days and then quantify them as a statistical vapor, which, we know is not true. So these are all sort of numerical tricks to kind of confuse the public into thinking that there's something a little bit more egregious than what it really is.
And then what upsets me is like, okay, then, you're saying all this stuff about their brains not developing, but nobody gives a shit if a 21-year-old's buying a fucking case of beer. Nobody's saying, well, you know what, we should change that to 30 because, that's what I'm getting. I mean, it's just ridiculous how that number changes depending on the drug or whatever, it's just
don't you remember the one, there was one senator or somebody from a health agency or something like that who actually recommended that the age for vaping be increased to age 25. Remember that? Yeah. Because they said that there's studies that show that the adolescent brain hasn't fully developed until 25.
Yeah.
So you'll let kids drive cars at 16. Yeah. You'll send them off to war at 18. Yeah. They can't buy beer until they're 21. Yeah. And then you can entrust them to have all other kinds of input into the nation and its existence, like by trying to get 16-year-olds to be legal to vote.
You can buy pot now, 21, right? 21, you can buy all the pot you want when you're 21 in certain states.
I mean, it's just, it's...
But doesn't alcohol affect the brain? I mean, I was pretty stupid when I was
a teenager
after a couple of beers.
More than the brain. Yeah. I mean, livers, things like that. Yeah, things like that. So that said, it just said that in 2021, it shows the prevalence of past month nicotine vaping fell sharply in 8th, 10th, and 12th grades. So I think these are the most impressionable years, right? I mean, kids rebel at all different stages in the game, but I think, and I don't have kids, but I can recall my teenage years. I think when I hit 14, 15, I think that's when things really started to ramp up, started taking more chances, started sneaking out in the middle of the night, started trying things tougher than Bartles and James wine coolers. We were on the Jack Daniels and the Wild Turkey and stuff like that, and smoking. I started smoking at 15, so I think those are the impressionable years. So if the numbers are falling now, opinion to the two of you, do you think that this drastic drop in number is at all in any way related to the COVID pandemic, and that maybe these numbers are a little, I wouldn't say manufactured, but
no, I would think they'd be higher because of COVID.
Well, but they're at home more around mom
who's
and
reporting
dad.
it. Yeah, who's reporting it. I think it's also the fact that they did raise the age to 21. So now a lot less 21-year-olds are hanging out with high school kids. The 18-year-olds, are more likely. But I will say it's also the parents that are buying it for the kids. Yeah. Like we have to turn them away all the time at the stores because they'll come in, the kid will point something out or say, oh, get this flavor. Immediately, we do not sell to that person because we're trying to do what we're supposed to do. But I would much rather see my kid vaping if he was smoking.
Yeah.
But that is another issue, is that these parents that do know the facts and the science behind vaping are willing to go into a vape shop and buy their kids some vape stuff.
Yeah. And maybe some of that's indicative of the relationships kids have with their parents or parents have with their kids nowadays. I don't know. I can't say that for sure. But I mean, we were always like, oh my God, Bobby's parents threw a party and they let them have beer. Like we were freaking out as kids. And now it just seems like parents are a little bit more willing, like, hey, if I open up a little bit and encourage that relationship with my child, then I'll be able to have that open conversation about things, and they won't be like running off and shutting their bedroom door and not, communicating with me and hiding all these things away from me. If it's out in the open, then I've established a much better communication line. So maybe that's why they kind of give into it. It's like, well,
and they also think too, like, if I would rather buy it at a reputable shop than have my kid get it from somebody on,
exactly,
Snapchat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, obviously,
I'd have a hard time if my kid was 18 and I had the two choices.
Yeah.
I'm swinging that kid that other way, and being an ex-smoker myself, I would totally.
Well, and then look at it from this angle too, John. I mean, some of these kids were able to obtain vaping devices legally until the age went to tobacco 21.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you had these kids who could get their hands on stuff and were considered by law an adult. And now all of a sudden, you ramp up the age 3 more years, and it's like, what are they supposed to do? They were already kind of down that path. So now
I was there. I was in line that day they switched to the tobacco one, and seeing that kids just lose it in that store because he was just he had no clue. He had no clue that had just happened. And the guy's like, dude, I can't sell to you no more. You have to be 21, state law, California. And he just lost it, started screaming. And he's probably been smoking for who knows how long, but he was pretty bent.
Well, that's a good point. So to add on to what Allison is saying here, other than parents be depending on the situations, their older of age siblings are age buying for their younger siblings as well. And that is a good side note, because I mean, I think that should be acknowledged as well, that, I think that there was a study effectively done on this, because they asked kids, where do you get your vape stuff from? And they were saying they're not getting it from the C stores, and they're not getting it online. Like, these ants want to, promote it as, oh, we got to shut down the online ordering angle because kids are just ordering willy-nilly. No, they're getting it from their friends, and they're getting it from older people in their family, siblings, uncles, aunts, cousins, whoever happens to be around them that is old enough to acquire that stuff. So they're getting it passed on through to them, and then more than likely back channels, where they're getting it kind of in their own little black market world.
Their inner circle. We all had one as teenagers.
Right. So let's talk a little bit more about the numbers. So the rate peaked at 10.5% in 2020. We're back on 8th, 10th, and 12th graders here. That rate peaked at 10.5% in 2020 among 8th graders before falling back to 7.6% last year. So that's 3 whole points that it fell. Among 10th and 12th graders, it peaked at almost 20% and 25.5% respectively. So 10th and 12th. In 2019, I think somebody made a comment and things said the ants all think it's still 2019, and had fallen down to 13.1 and 19.6% respectively. So you can see there has been sort of a sharp fall in the numbers in general. I think, and part of that too, I think, is just due to the idea that the fad wears off. What was once taboo and exciting and cool to do and try, they're like, whatever. I tried it. No big deal. I'm moving on. What's the next Tide Pod that I can eat?
Right. And as soon as it gets to be too hard to acquire, they're like, this is too much effort.
What else can I snort or huff?
Yeah, exactly.
On to the whipped cream.
Right.
You kids don't understand. You cost a whole state trouble.
Exactly.
Poor bastards now got to pull out a freaking driver's license to purchase whipped cream, people.
Yeah. Those damn kids.
Sorry, Mom, you can't have your sex party tonight. They wouldn't sell me any whipped cream.
But you know what? That probably applies to a lot of different things too. I mean, there's all kinds of cases where where like you can't go in and buy like paint, like paint and certain other things that they know that people were huffing. So
somehow the idea of stopping kids from buying spray paint at a certain age didn't help, because there's still a lot of graffiti out there.
Yeah.
Now it's art. I'm sorry, it's art. It's art now. I forgot I have to call it art.
Oh, graffiti?
Yeah, it's art now.
As long as it's not on the side of my car.
Yeah. My city decides to do a whole 2-day festival encouraging them to continue graffiti, and they have street walls that are dedicated just for them. Thank you, City of Modesto.
I think if it's done right, I think it can be cool. But when it's you're tagging the fucking $10,000 kVA transformer down the street with a Latin King symbol on it, I'm probably not going to be in for that one. But anyway, I thought this was interesting. So these numbers that they were talking about are a little bit more, I guess, viable in the sense that the prevalence was defined as use on 20 or more occasions in the previous 30 days. So at least they're taking almost a whole month's worth of
not
use.
Just once.
Not just one time.
Did you look at a vape once? You vape.
Yeah. Fell from 2% to 1.1% among 8th graders, from 6.8% to 2.5% among 10th graders, and from 11.6% to 5.4% among 12th graders. So those are some pretty drastic numbers. So, you have to question the FDA and really sort of the spearheaded front. It's a vaping epidemic. Now they'll take this and they'll turn it the other way, right? They'll go ahead and say, okay, well, we're looking at the percentage numbers across the board, but they'll go ahead and take the bigger number, which sounds more doom and gloom. And they'll be like, yeah, but that quantifies 11 million kids across the United States, And then when people hear that, who don't even know what the total population in America is, they'll be like, oh my God, 11 million. Oh, and then they start freaking out. So the war of numbers, right? The war of attrition when it comes to numbers. So these findings are broadly consistent with results from the National Youth Tobacco Survey. We know that one comes out periodically, which is sponsored by the CDC. That survey shows the prevalence of past month e-cigarette use. Now, I think isn't the NYTS, aren't they the ones that say if you vaped once in 30 days, you're technically a vapor? Used by high school students, peaking at 27.5% in 2019 before falling to 11.3% in 2021. Even though adults still have access to ends in a variety of flavors, the epidemic decried by the FDA and CDC seems to be fading fast. And you notice they never want to address it. They never want to talk about it. They just keep parroting the same crap over and over and over again. And now maybe they might not talk about the number as much, but now they like to go ahead on the big scary train, like, oh, it's going to cause severe lung injury and depression and anxiety. And so they got to have a new angle, right? Because now they can't really say it's just, it's all over the place. Now it's more about how it's damaging brains. So there's reason to think that ends, far from interfering with the decline in adolescent smoking, hastened that downward trend, which accelerated as vaping took off. Well, of course, it was new, it was exciting, it's brand new. They're like, hey, we got to try it. Everybody else is doing it, The 2019 analysis of New York Tobacco, the National Youth Tobacco Survey data found that frequent e-cigarette use was concentrated among teenagers who were current or former smokers. Shocker.
I wish I could use my stuff. I can't do it.
That's okay. So, but that's interesting information to note, So, I mean, obviously they're putting the cigarettes down and they're going towards the thing that they were told is safer and better for them anyway, which is kind of like what you would ultimately want to happen if something were to happen. But that's not surprising to me either. So far, the recent decline in adolescent vaping has not led to an uptick in smoking, which makes sense if casual users, rather than teenagers who vape instead of smoking, account for most of the drop. But the FDA would be wary of any policy that makes cigarettes easy to obtain, and they're not being wary. They're just trying to get rid of vaping, and then we know what's going to exist after that, to obtain an ends or make ends less appealing to people who would otherwise be smoking. So this kind of rambles on and rambles on and rambles on and rambles on. I think the numbers were probably pretty much more or less for me. The one thing that stuck out the most, I'll finish on. Oh, well, here's this one. In recent years, the downward trend in smoking by 19 to 30-year-olds, here's the group that we abandoned before, has been accompanied by an upward trend in vaping. Although I think at 21, you have to shut this friggin' argument down, right? I mean, can you really go above 21 at this point? I mean, now they're legal, so who cares, right? Obviously, older people were a little bit more set in our ways. So, I mean, this is going to be your target kind of age range. Has been accompanied by an upward trend in vaping. Since it was first measured in 2017, nicotine vaping in the past 30 days has nearly tripled among young adults to 16.1% in 2021. The report says nicotine vaping in the past 12 months was reported by 21.8%, just below the all-time high of 23.6% in 2019. So I don't know. This is a very gray area group. I don't know what they're trying to hit on at this point. I don't know what they're trying to prove. I mean, I think at some point you have to let adults be adults and make choices for themselves. I mean, why should they be judged? Although, did you see the thing that was out on the news not long ago about how remember Dr. Oz? Remember the guy who promoted vaping? Remember him? He was like, "Oh, this is the next greatest thing." Now he wants to, part of his political campaign is to mobilize more states and organizations to be able to not hire smokers. That if you're a smoker, you can't get a job there.
Yep.
Okay. So funny how people. So all right. So then, Dr. Oz, then what are you saying? You don't want them to be able to hire vapors too, because that's how the public sees this now, buddy.
Yep.
You know, they see that it's a tobacco product. Vaping is worse than smoking. Oh,
it's going to be 13 million unemployed people.
Well, right. Yeah. Oh, happy
Unless
birthday.
You work at a vape
Are
shop.
we missing a happy birthday in the group? It's Martha's birthday. It's
Martha's
birthday.
Oh,
Martha. Well,
we've done.
We did, but she wasn't here.
Yeah, but
right.
We've done the happy birthday song on the show, and it didn't work out too well. I don't know if you want to go there.
Martha, imagine that we're all singing happy birthday to you right now.
It wasn't on cue. Let's just put it that way.
It's a 3-part harmony. Allison obviously is taking the high part because we're a little bit more in our chest register.
I'll do the snapping. How's that? Yeah. We'll break it down. Tim sings it, and me and Allison will snap our fingers to it. Ready, Tim?
Yeah.
On a 1.
No.
And a 2. And a 3.
No.
Done. Done.
And I'm getting a phone call. Who's calling?
The only way we could have pulled it off is if we had a growler during the song. So, there's, no guttural pig squeals or anything like that. So kind of loses its luster, John. Just saying. Anyway, so I'm not going to ramble on anymore about this, but, it's pretty obvious that, we are seeing a drop in the numbers and that their argument is kind of losing face to some degree. So I think it makes it harder for them to stand on that soapbox and
they still will.
But they will. They'll take it to the end. I'm interested to see what the numbers look like next year in the 2022 or 2023 outcomes, to see if in fact these numbers were impacted by the kids being stuck at home more often and trapped in their own little world and not having the social interaction. Although at some point they got out of the house, they were able to go hang with their friends. They just weren't allowed to go back to school. So, I'm sure, once they get in their little powwows, they got some nefarious shit going on, but hey, they're kids.
I mean, I always ask my son who's 16 and he didn't really have that much time that they were doing virtual. And he said that he doesn't really see as many kids as they were before, just in school in general. So I think that's promising, to see that. Like, I think it's just kind of faded out. I think, between being home, kind of getting away from it, maybe with that, and then also, like their parents just being like angry and upset with them about using it and probably coming down on them about using it, could potentially have an impact,
It's that same thing with Facebook. It's like all the parents are using it now, so it's not, Facebook isn't cool anymore, and you feel like that's the same thing that's kind of taking place. It's just like they'll drop things because they just, hey, that's not, hey, Dad's does it, that can't be cool, fucking Dad does it.
Right, and it's harder to get now for them, so and kids don't want to put the effort in to do.
Yeah. Well, right. And John and I always question where kids were getting the money from anyway to be able to support that kind of habit. I mean, that is if they were getting it through natural channels and paying retail price for it. Now, if they're getting knockoff Universal pods out of the backpack of their buddy at school, then that kind of changes things to some degree. But
Tim, can you do that, Tim?
Where's Paul when you need him? Paul needs to call.
Well, Paul's Australian, so it would be at least it was British.
It's British slang.
Yeah, no.
And there would be like a couple F-bombs in there.
I bet we could find. I bet we could find you a YouTube video of a guy singing "Happy Birthday."
I was going to do one, but what ends up happening was then if I don't go back and give the person credit, then they'll mute it. That's how it works now on YouTube. Then it's somehow, I guess, well, they know you used it on a channel, somehow they know, and then they just come back and get you muted, which is stupid because there's a couple songs that you can't copyright, right? And I think the Happy Birthday song is one, and I think you can't copyright the Happy Birthday. That belongs to all of us, so you can't stop anybody from singing it out live on a show. So
that belongs to all of us.
Well, I think it's a little unfair. You have to have the ability to do some things freely without somebody having some monetary gain.
Imagine doing at your kid's birthday party. Nope, we can't sing. It's copyrighted.
Yeah, they got like the hat. Yeah, exactly.
You need to sign this form right here.
Yeah.
Can you imagine getting $1 for every time somebody sings the Happy Birthday song, though? Jesus Christ, that'd be a take.
I tried to earn all the money I could losing my teeth when I was a kid. That didn't pan out very well. All right, let's move on, right?
Move on.
Let's move on to Alaska. I don't know how they talk in Alaska.
That's the Geek Vape 200.
I want that.
All right, so this one I think we talked about from an advocacy standpoint quite some time ago, where we were trying to get. And I honestly don't know that we have anyone on the show that's from Alaska, but if we do, the numbers back up again, right? So basically, both of the houses in Alaska passed a bill that would impose a statewide tax. So right now, it's not a flavor ban. You can still get your flavors, but you're going to get taxed out the wazoo. So both houses passed this bill, SB 45, and now it's sitting on the governor's desk. And he has to decide whether or not he's going to veto it or he's going to pass it. Right. But here's the problem. He only has 9 more days to make this decision. If he doesn't make this decision, now I have not seen any follow-up articles. I have not seen anything that's come out that said whether or not he's made his decision. But if he doesn't say something by the 16th of this month, it will go into effect in January 1, 2020. Yes, automatically. So they're asking Alaskan restaurants, Alaskan residents. Excuse me, didn't mean to call everyone in Alaska a restaurant. To call in and encourage him to veto this bill. I would have to gather that this is probably not a very conducive thing to pass in the current situation, just simply because of the rate of inflation and everything else that's going on. I'm also unless you're in like Anchorage or one of the big cities, most people that live in Alaska are in these outlying little areas where, things are harder to obtain anyway. I mean, they get like supply drops in via plane. It's and they're not making the money, to survive the same way that most of us would have access to. At least if we needed a freaking job, we could Uber for a month, or we could get a job at McDonald's and at least get some income coming in if it meant you're, keeping the roof over your head. But in Alaska, where things are harder for them to obtain, we're already probably stretching their budgets to begin with. And now you're going to slap an additional 35% tax to the existing exorbitant local taxes, could price vaping out of reach for many Alaska residents and consequently drive them back to the same crutches that you're trying to get them away from. And I think it's probably well known in Alaska, they got alcohol problems and all kinds of other things that go on. So if we have any friends from Alaska, or you know anybody from Alaska, tell this dude right here, that guy right here.
You know, remember we were talking about Alaska before, and I was kind of blown away by their household income, which was like really high, which was surprising. Remember talking about that?
Yeah.
It's like here, I just pulled it 77,000.
Yeah, but I'm sure that's all probably relative too, right? I mean, I don't know much about the demographic of Alaska, because most of my exposure to Alaska is all those TV shows on Discovery Channel, where they're living away the freak off the grid. They're killing ptarmigan or what those stupid birds are, for dinner, and they live like basically in a gutted bomb shelter.
I just picture everybody living in an igloo, which I know is not true.
No, but I mean, I just don't know what life is like in, say, like Anchorage or something.
Sled dogs and
it's more about trapping mink and and stuff like that.
Before we destroy a whole state, let's move on.
I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying I don't have anything to compare it to. I don't know what life is like in a city like Anchorage or something. All I know is what I've seen pretty much on TV. So but this guy, tell that guy, I'm pointing that
each resident gets $1,000 a year from the city, from the state. $1,000 a year. You just get $1,000 just for living there.
It's not a bad gig. If that's all it takes to live, I'll do that.
I feel like we're sorry about all the daylight.
I'll get a part-time apartment there for
I'll sit at home and do vape shows every night of the week just to wait around and collect my grand. Yep. But at any rate, so did they even say what his name is? What's his name? Oh, Mike Dunleavy. There's his name. Yeah, very white bread name for a guy who lives in Alaska. All right. So that said, let's talk about some actual vape advocacy that you can take on. Call to action that came out from CASA. So we're fighting a flavor ban in Oregon. In Oregon, it's a
I feel like that's directed at me. Sorry.
You minx killer, you.
Yeah.
You female. Good.
Oregon. Sorry. I'm just, every time I say the name Oregon, I think of oregano.
Oregano, yeah.
I don't know why. There's some similarity in those two words, I suppose.
There's a lot of oregano in Oregon.
Okay, so Multnomah County is trying to institute a flavor ban. Now, this one isn't actually at the level where they have the little form.
That's not there.
Yeah, I don't know what this is going to do. It's probably going to open up an email or something like that, is my comment. So they give you the talking points and stuff like that. So the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners is asking for public input on a potential ban on sales of flavored tobacco and nicotine products. County residents can share their views by filling out a Google form survey set up by the Board of Health. So you can go on there and they give you the talking points that you can kind of work by. Why does standing up to flavor bans matter in a post-PMTA world? So they give you basically stuff that you can pull on if you don't feel like you know exactly what to say. The best thing you probably can do is maybe use some of these talking points, but share your story, personalize this a little bit. Tell them how vaping saved your life. Tell them what path you were headed down. So, I mean, when it hits the desk of these people who are going to try to understand why, sure, they want, short, quick, concise information. They don't want to read some 5-page book, but at the same time, it's about, combining talking points as well as sharing your story, because it's that testimony that means the most. And then apparently, I guess there's a Google form that you can fill out too, which makes it a little bit easier. So
this is just for people in that county, correct, Tim?
Yeah. So I don't Multnomah County. So I don't know much about that. I don't know how big or how. I mean, Oregon's kind of the wild.
Big, yeah.
It's pretty big, and it's more spread out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like not Wild West, but it's
Shit could be 300 people in that county for all we know.
And ultimately, you don't know how isolated those people are either. I mean, you don't know if that's like way out in the boondocks, and that the things that they can access are miles away, or if they have to drive 20, 30 miles to get back into a city or something like that. So, I mean, even you could even use the argument and say, well, okay, fine, ban it in the county, but they can just go to the next county over and get it because they didn't have a flavor ban. But maybe that next county is like 25 miles away. Yeah. It's not that convenient, I'm going to guess there's still interstate commerce there too. So they can probably get stuff online. But they're just going to try to ban it in the stores, make it less accessible, obviously, because of the kids. So
it's always about the kids, man.
Yeah. So the comment period is open. It doesn't actually even say when it shuts down. So it looks like
it's almost 1 million, 815,000 people.
That's a decent number, right? But it looks like you have a wide open palette to work with. So if you know anybody in Multnomah County, Oregon, please communicate this to them. Inform them. They may not know. I don't know. It may be on the glass of every store downtown. Who knows? But yeah.
Get on it, people.
Yeah.
I know where you live. I know where every single one of you live. No, I'm kidding.
Spread the word. So that's my 3 stories. That's what I got. And back to you, John, in the studio.
I didn't find. Go ahead, take your thingy down.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right. take your thingy down, Tim.
That's what she said.
That's what she said. That is going to be copyrighted too pretty soon. So be careful. I didn't find a high res one, but I did find a picture.
Oh, John! I just remembered. Yeah, there it is. Look at that, folks. Only this man could get a bubble so perfect on the tip of a vein. I swear to God, that's actually soap water that he made with palm olive.
I did this meme years ago with all the money I saved from quitting smoking. I bought a winery.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Then everybody thought I actually bought a winery, so I had to clear that up for like fucking 5 days. It was nonstop. Did you buy a winery, Jar? Like, the fuck? Who do you think I am?
I didn't believe at the moment that I saw it.
I think you were one of those people that said, "Did you buy a winery? Can I come over and drink for free?"
That. I'm gonna go find the post and go read my comment. I didn't even know you when I was calling you out on your bullshit.
Oh, hey, quick. One more thing. I wanted to bring back. I'm going to try to get him back. I wanted to see and get an idea, and I kind of screwed up the poll today and went with the 120 thing. But I wanted to know if you guys would like to have another builder come on. I don't know if that's still a thing. If people are still building coils, if you guys are interested in maybe having another builder come on and kind of. Go through the simple steps of building. If you guys, I mean, it might come down to that, but I'm just saying, if you want to learn a little bit more about building, we can have someone come on that has got his cameras all set up and can kind of do the breakdown for you guys and come on and show you how to build. And the reason I was talking, because this picture came up in my history thing. I forgot. It's just out. You can't vape this, but it just, that still to this day, that thing blows me away. Can you imagine putting cotton on that, Tim?
No. Where do you put it?
I think you have to build the cotton. You have to build the coil around the cotton, I think is what you're supposed to do.
You're like knit one, purl two if you want to wick that sucker up.
Yeah. I think you just drop e-liquid on it and then just take a hit.
Yeah, I mean, just
my drip tip won't go on there.
I get blown away by the creativity and the imagination to actually create a coil like that, or even if it's artistic and it's in the grander sense.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have someone. He can do that stuff, but my goal for him to come on is just to show some people how easy it is just to make a basic coil and try to save a little bit of money. Maybe make that transition into RDAs that you wanted to, but you were kind of afraid to do, and he can kind of give you guys ideas on what RDAs are easy to build on and what wires to use and stuff like that. So if you guys are interested, we can have him come on and do like a 30-minute segment. And I know a few guys that have, cameras that are just every freaking where. I don't know how they do it, but they up close and can kind of break down the wire where you get wire. Wire's getting hard to buy now and getting expensive as well. So I think they've caught on to all our little tricks. Wire
closing all the loopholes.
Well, I mean, I would say this much. I would say I think it would behoove people who are intimidated by the idea that of building or at least making simple single wire coils and trying to understand Ohm's law a little bit and doing it. I would say, if it comes down to it, to even have the ability to know how to do that kind of stuff is, even if you got to spend a little bit more for wire, you're going to get a lot more longevity out of that one wire coil that you're going to make than you are dropping 12, 14, 15, 18, 20 bucks. Even, I don't know what they sell them for in vape shops now. A pack of 5 coils. I mean, yes, convenience is great, but I mean, you're just not going to be able to do it. Hey, John, can we share that one picture we were going to share last week from Sears?
Do I have it?
I have it.
You have it. Go for it.
I have it. All right. So this one's for, well, us old folks can identify.
That's old.
Yeah, but we want to share like the pain and agony that we had to go through like back in the 80s. Like basically, this is just how kind of crazy it was, right? So let me share this picture because this is true. This shit really existed. Are you ready? All right, hold on.
I can't do drum rolls.
Okay, don't worry about it. With that,
move your mouse over.
I'm moving there. I'm trying to. I want to make it a little bit bigger. Hold on. Look at that. When your parents took you to Sears for pictures in the 80s. It's true though. It's true. I mean, I don't know. I never got taken to one, but these are the props that they had.
Oh shit! I remember guys walking wearing their dad's Marlboro hats and their Marlboro shirts and jackets and stuff all the time.
I think what really kind of just is the wagon wheel in the back. That to me is just ace in the hole right there.
All's missing is a cowboy hat too.
Yeah, screw the oversized pack of Marlboro Reds. That was a nothing burger back there. With that, you know how many times you can drive down a country road and people got 2 of them motherfuckers on flanking the driveway?
All I want to know is why the photographer even has that as a prop.
He probably got that with his Marlboro.
He probably got his Marlboro bucks. He got it with his Marlboro bucks and said, "Screw it, I'll probably use it someday in one of these pictures."
That's Bobby making Daddy proud right there.
Yeah. He's like, "Hey, Dad, can I do it? No, forget this sitting on the bike shit, Dad. Get that big box of Marlboro out there." Now, what we need to do is find that kid and see if he ended up being a smoker. That's what we need to find out.
Right?
Hey, he probably works for the FDA now.
He's probably the Marlboro man, just older.
It could be. I don't know.
No, that is I mean, I know we've all, like I laugh because everybody posted like their pictures from the 80s in high school, and it was funny to me. I didn't pick up on it, but it was like a trend that went all across the country, and everybody in the 80s was you're seeing your picture, you were sitting on a wicker chair. It's like that's all they had was wicker chair. Every picture, I don't care if you were in New York City, Iowa, friggin' Colorado, California, everybody was sitting in a wicker chair. I was just like, okay, that's the thing. It's wicker chairs. Let's bring them in. Everybody's got their picture sitting on the wicker chair, man.
Yep. They had to sit them down a little lower. Wicker chairs had to be lower to fit all the hair in the picture.
The hair was just, I got to step back about 10 more feet to get your hair in the picture. You got to love the 80s, baby.
Love it.
I don't know. When's the last time anybody even saw a wicker chair? Now it's the Adirondack is where it's at, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Everybody had it. And I hated those things. We had them in our front yard, and Modesto in the summertime, it's 110, 115 degrees. And you'd get up, and it was just you just had that wicker molded into your friggin' skin. Were you sitting on your wicker chairs? You knew because your legs were just all covered in wicker. Yeah. But I was going through some of those old pictures of the 80s stuff, and I shouldn't get in trouble for this, I don't think. But yeah, there was an advertisement for a cocaine box that they were selling in a magazine in the 80s. Yeah, I am not kidding you. And I was just like thinking to myself, God, they must have a lot. And then in the picture it says, you remember how like if something was in a photo and they would write on the bottom, does not include the cocaine. Yeah. It was written in there in small print, cocaine not included.
A lot of people that didn't see that fine print were pissed.
Wait, I thought I was getting cocaine with this. I gotta find that picture.
I got ripped off.
I got ripped off. Yeah. I paid all this money for a wooden box.
Well, I don't know. It's just kind of funny because when I see that picture of the kid kind of posing with the oversized box of Marlboros, and we've talked about it before. I mean, when we were kids, we could go, and I think they still. I don't know if they still have it or if it's even available. We used to be able to go buy those candied cigarettes.
Oh yeah, you can get them still.
And do they still have like the powdered sugar you can blow out?
Yeah, they have like a lot of those like old timey like candy stores down in Charleston, and they have them there. Yeah.
That's crazy. Cocaine and wood.
Yeah. Look at the average. I mean, that's probably why they said, hey, this was an actual thing. You got a money back guarantee.
Oh my God.
To buy the box.
Yeah, to buy the box. And this little thing, whatever this thing was right here. Kit includes,
that's before people had the cocaine.
The spoon. I think they call it the spoon.
Before they had the cocaine fingernail.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh. See, you see now why we're all screwed up. Everybody grew up as teenagers in the 80s.
Yep. Can you imagine going to Sears now and posing with a giant JUUL?
Well, when it was hot, remember all the Halloween costumes? People were actually going as JUULs for Halloween. Yep. I was like, okay, now it's gotten a little bit out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, really, couldn't you have been a little bit more original than that?
Yeah, passing out mango pods to the kids.
Oh, they had one that the dude actually had smoke coming out of it, out of the tip. He had something that was making smoke out of the tip. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is that too far off when people used to go get like the MVP 2.0 tattooed on their bicep and stuff like that?
Yeah, that was insane. I get it. I'm not gonna, because who knows, one of our listeners may have their smock G40, whatever, tattooed on their body. I just didn't get that. When I started seeing vape tattoos on people's bodies, I was like, huh? And
Night, Martha.
Why a smock body? Of all the things, smoke, why that?
Yeah. I never regret my eye clear 16 tattoo.
Yeah. That one on your ankle. The one you wanted the dolphin. I know you wanted the dolphin, but you went with the eye clear on the ankle.
It's either a dolphin.
I need it on me forever.
A little dove.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna go for the 4-leaf clover, but I opted to get the RX 200S instead.
Yeah, I think you should get one, Tim. Somewhere you finish that arm up. It's one of your arms is not all done, right?
Thanks for coming, Daryl. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, come back.
I think you should get it right on your hand. So every time you grab your other mod,
on the back of my hand, like I don't
on the back, just the back part. Take it over to the tattoo artist. I just want you to do the back part of this mod. So when it's in my hand, that's what they see.
Exactly. So so it kind of looks like I'm holding a mod when I got my fist clenched. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm gonna take that angle though, bro.
Well, that was the thing. I remember like in the 90s, that was like my parents, they were like, yeah, if you get a tattoo, you get a tattoo. But they always told us nothing on your neck, nothing on your face, and nothing on your hand, because you'll never be able to get a good job. That's all out the window now.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't matter where you have it tattooed now. We'll hire you.
I still would question that though. I think that there are still some parameters around that. Like I do think society's come a long way where we're a lot more accepting to that individualistic sort of kind of display. But I'm telling you, you're not going to come work for you're not going to come work for Dominion Electric when you're all like,
Yeah, can you imagine the bank teller at B of A just all friggin' tatted out?
I mean, maybe
I just deal with it from. Go ahead.
No, go. You finish. Go.
I was going to say I just deal with it from my mom. My mom still does not speak to me. Every time I get a tattoo, she will not speak to me for at least 2 weeks. 42 years old, will not speak. Sometimes I get a tattoo just to get a break from her.
just to get. I need that week break. Yeah. Guess what? I got tattooed. Yeah, mom's good. I don't have to hear from her for a couple of days. Yeah, they didn't care. They just always told us nothing on your face, nothing on your neck, nothing on your hands.
Yeah,
because you're gonna need those tools.
Yeah.
I need
Well,
this,
I mean, I don't know.
I need the space. The space is
You can't
everything.
mess up yeah, you can't. That's the moneymaker. You can't
mess
put
up
anything
the
on there.
Sicilian face. My face is my moneymaker.
Oh yeah, well you got a beard, so I mean, you went with
Yeah,
something.
I just had a real old friend of the family. I went into his restaurant. He owns a restaurant here in Modesto. It's an Italian guy, Chefs of New York. I can say the name. And I walk in there and he goes, "No." And he's like, he just like, you need to know. He told me to go back to a goatee. I'm like, I don't know, just goatee. It's not 1990.
I can't
He's
do
Italian
it at all.
He's like, "No." As soon as he saw me walk in, he's like, "Nope, no. Shave it off." And he just got the old 70s porn stash still going.
Gotta keep it classy.
I don't know. It's gray. I guess I was always at that. I was always not able to grow one. I'd always have a patch here, and never. Now it grows everywhere, but it's freaking gray. So I was just like, you know what? I didn't get to do it when I was younger, and I always wanted a beard. Never did it because it didn't grow right. And now it grows right, but it's all gray, and I just like, I give up. I don't care. Then we've all had. I'm sure you did too, Tim. We had your buddy that was 13 that had a fucking full beard by the time he was.
Yeah, I had friends in high school that I'm like, dude, man, you're like that close to being Grizzly Adams, man.
Yeah,
like, what the hell? Like, I can't. I'm still dealing with the peach fuzz. I don't know how to.
Those are the guys I would have said back then if I knew about DNA. I would have been like, dude, you need to check your DNA, man. You part something that's not supposed to be around. I mean, full arm, hair, beard, full chest, full beard.
There's a question. There's a question for Allison.
Oh, there you go, Alice.
Oh yeah, she hates everything.
Yeah. Just across the board. Any body modification.
She told me like she always makes a comment like because my whole back is tattooed, and if we're at the pool, she's like, "That'd be beautiful if it was on the wall." So I found this thing where like when you die, you can actually have it framed.
Really?
Send it to her for Christmas gift. This is my back, Mom.
I sent it to her. I was like, "Hey, if I go first, you're gonna get your wish. You're gonna get this on the wall." But yeah, she doesn't like any of it.
I have a mom and daughter one.
Yeah, I've tried so many times to send her like tattoo ideas, and she's like, don't make me block your number." I'm like,
have something where you like if you guys hold hands or it's like together, it comes together, like you put your hands together, there's a dove. She'll have like one half of the dub, you have the other half of the dub. It's just boom.
She said I look like one of those trash people. So
apparently I know. That's how I went. Those are people with trouble.
It's a very old school outlook, I think. Yeah, and she's okay with everybody else's tattoos, just not mine.
Not yours.
Yeah. You think too, like my dad, being born in he's 1938 when he was born. The tattoo thing was basically kind of like somebody that went to prison or somebody that was bad on the street. So that kind of just stuck with them,
Yeah, she doesn't like my nose either. She doesn't like my nose ring either. She always says I should just put a bone through the middle of my nose. It's just one of those things.
Yep. I mean, my parents were big time. Like they did not want me to get my ears pierced when I was growing up. And then I eventually did that, and that bothered them. And then the tattoos came next. And that was almost like,
you went overboard.
I really had gone off the deep end of it. But I think, in their mind's eye, that was like something that like, my parents are 80 now. So, I mean, it's like, that's what sailors came back from war, and got the anchor and mom and the stuff like that. Like they just,
Louise,
they thought that it was way too, much of a, social thing, that it would draw attention to myself, in the wrong kind of way.
Yeah.
Going to prison, Tim.
Well, my dad always said, you're never going to get a good job with hair down to your ass and tattoos all over you. And, I guess I kind of got the last laugh on that one.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I did end up with the okay job looking like the goofball that I am. So.
All right, guys, we got about 2 minutes. What do you guys? Let me put this out there. Everyone, please share and like the video. We really love for you guys to start sharing the video and wherever you want to share it. We don't care. Facebook, Twitter, anywhere, share it. Get the word out there. And that's what we're all about, is trying to get everybody to give us a listen and hear what we have to say, and hopefully someday make a difference. We need to make a difference. Think outside the box, man.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
That's right.
We're still hanging in there.
That should be a great show.
Yeah. Charles is going to be a great guest.
Oh,
I've watched some of his interaction with Green.
Yeah. And today, was it today? Yesterday? Is it yesterday or today? What's today? The 6th? No, yesterday I became a new grandpa. See how my brain does.
Hold on. Here's the clappy hand in the camera.
One granddaughter number 7 born yesterday, and number 8 is due in a couple days. So
good.
So 8 grandkids. So that's it. I ain't got nothing else. Tim, you got something? All right, let's do it. Ready? Allison, she laughed.
She's gone.
She's gone.
We're off the hook now.
Yeah, we're off the hook. If we don't sound good, I listened back to that a couple times, and we're just all like a couple words behind each other. Like I was at happy, Tim was already at birthday, and then you were at you already. So yeah, it was a mess.
It's futile, dude. We should just not do it.
We're gonna practice. We're gonna practice.
This is not American Idol.
Yeah, and we'll charge for it. We'll charge for it. You want to sing happy birthday? Hashtag happy birthday, $20. All right, guys, we are out of here. Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. Don't forget to like and share the video, and we will see everybody next Wednesday with the special guests. And our special guest will be who?
Charles Gardner.
All right, everybody. Peace out.